Okay, let's open it up to questions. Who has a question? Go ahead.
Are you for auditing the Fed?
Okay.
I'm for eliminating the Fed, and the audit is step one. I bet they don't have very much gold. There's a thing called the Exchange Stabilization Fund that Roosevelt set up in '33 when he called in gold and made it illegal to own, and very few people know about it. And the treasurer runs it on his sole authority. They've been dealing in the market to keep the price down because it makes them look bad. I bet we don't have much. I think they've spent it on this dealing to manage the trading. Go ahead. But I'm for ending the Fed, zero. Private mints, so forth.
I am for auditing the Fed, and I would probably use a state resolution to ask the Congress to audit the Fed. I don't think that they will follow through on that. So one of the things that I think that the state can do is to go back to establishing our money on what is called the gold system here in the state to make sure that we have the proper protections in this state should the federal government collapse, which it eventually will if it continues down this path.
That's in the Constitution, by the way, that the states can only use gold and silver. Clear as a bell.
Another.
Go along to section 10.
Anybody have another question?
Any of you gentlemen Christians?
I am. I became a Christian when I was 16 years old. Before that, I was adopted by 2 Christian parents. I was here for about 8 years prior to that, and was taught about the Bible, taught about how I should live my life. And at first I rejected that just because I didn't believe that there was a loving God when I got introduced to that, but I accepted that later on.
I was raised in a Presbyterian family, but left the church when I decided it just wasn't. I didn't believe it, and I'm for complete separation of church and state. I'm not for imposing anyone's religion on someone else by making it part of government. And I'll match my ethics and morality to anybody, whatever church they go to.
Billy.
You mentioned bringing home the guard. Is this like just bring home just the guard, or also end the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan?
As much as I would like to end the wars in Iraq and in Afghanistan, I think that there's very little that the state can do to do that. I think that one of the ways that we can persuade at least our representatives to vote in a constitutional manner when it comes to war funding would be that we can make it the adjutant or the Attorney General's responsibility in this state to recall any representative from this state that does supply war funding to the illegal wars that haven't been supported by the people.
Yeah, I include Iraq and Afghanistan as wars that were started on lies, outright premeditated lies. It's about oil. Afghan's about a pipeline to drain Turkmenistan and all those northern stands east of the Caspian. Iraq's about oil in defense of Israel. I say if you want to defend Israel, join the IDF. Don't send somebody else's boys. So those were outright, darn right lies. There was no confusion, no lack of judgment, no mix-ups, they were lies. And it's horrible. And I think we should end it right away. We're killing people, we're murdering people with these drones. 30, 50, 100 at a time. We should be in the streets. We should be in D.C. throwing tomatoes at the building. It's horrifying. And that's part of our decadent society. Nobody's upset. Nicest people I know, my friends. They're not upset that we're murdering people. Yeah, that's what's for lunch. Because no one cares. They don't think about it. And we need to. It's terrible.
Mike?
How do you stand on the 2 trains that are being proposed, and do you think we can afford the subsidies that it's going to cost the taxpayers?
Well, you were kind of looking at me. I think it's a terrible idea. Trains faded out for good reason. They're expensive, they have fixed schedules and fixed paths they travel in, and you know, cars and buses aren't very flexible. And it's just a terrible idea and a negative cash flow in times that are bad. It's all about getting action, some federal money, and people like Dave, however you pronounce his name, our mayor, just love any kind of action and doing something. And it's counterproductive. It's more unconstitutional stuff in the federal government, and bad in the functional sense, in the constitutional sense, in the fiscal management sense. Do you get my point?
Got it.
I would also agree with that. I would say that, you know, we need to get rid of the railway. I don't think that the federal government's going to allow us to do that without pulling away funding from us, but I think that's something that we as a state are just going to need to bite the bullet and make sure that we don't make that same mistake again when they offer some more carrots for us in the future. And we really don't need to be taking up those carrots that the federal government is offering to us, because we can't afford it and we know that they can't afford it, and in order for them to pay for it, they have to tax us more in order to do so. And if I'm saying that I'm for helping our families out, obviously helping our families out is not increasing the amount of taxes that they have to pay.
Well, go ahead, Tom.
Okay. You're in the 77th district on the west side, which I guess you could describe as a progressive district at this point in time. How do each of you plan to go about convincing people that you would be the right fit for that district?
Well, one of the things that I do is, first of all, I try to meet people one-on-one. So I've been going door to door, knocking on people's doors, handing them information about me, talking with them, answering questions if they ask about any certain specific issue. And then one of the other things that I've been trying to do in order to build momentum so that we can start turning the 77th district is to help out groups like this one that are helping us to move towards a more constitutional government.
Yeah, I run, as I said earlier, to promote my message of less government, constitutionally based. The opposite is what we have today, and we're going broke, and our ethics are declining, and our liberty is declining. It doesn't work, and so it's my way of trying, and if people will read my website, they'll see my message, and I hope, you know, a dozen or so do. That's better than doing nothing. I'm doing something. And I'm very proud of what I propose, because it's all moral, it's all voluntary. I don't force people to do things they don't want to do. That's the beauty of capitalism. Progressives demonize capitalism and corporations. What a joke. You know, the thing is, progressives want the government to give them money. They just want it for their projects. They don't want it for these projects. But once you open that door, everybody gets a bunch of it, you know. So they demonize corporations and capitalism because they're not getting that part of it. It's pathetic. So you just try to spread the word, put out the website, and hope that it has an incremental impact.
Follow-up, I guess. What would each of you see as the, I guess the primary problem confronting the 77th district specifically?